Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you are all doing well. I haven't posted a video since my last show day vlog that I posted, which was actually my second out of my 3 shows. I didn't end up vlogging my final show. I didn't have my videographer with me for that show. And I just really wanted to be present and soak up every last moment, especially with how show days can be. It just wasn't really plausible, and it was a very quick show day, as it was anyway. I got to step on stage with one of my closest friends and my posing coach as well, Eden, and we stayed together, and it was just like ultimate vibes for that weekend. But as it stands, I am currently just over 7 weeks post-show, which is absolutely crazy. Honestly, there's like part of me that's feels like I just competed yesterday, because I still very much so feel like my headspace is in like prep bubble still. But then another part of me is like, it could have been a lifetime ago. Like the Meg that I feel right now feels just so different to the Meg that stepped on stage, and I almost look back at videos and I'm just like, how was that me? Like how has that been my year? So for today's video, I really wanted to do an in-depth Q&A and really just deep dive. Sorry if you can hear Spudley eating in the background. He's a social eater who decides to start munching when I pull out the camera for the first time in 7 weeks. I really wanted to deep dive into just recapping my prep, my thoughts, feelings, how I'm finding post-show, and also just my plans for the future, because I have been getting so many questions. Thought by answering your questions it would be a good opportunity to really open up about the subject. I feel definitely on Instagram there's only so much you can really see. Genuinely, I'm definitely still on a journey, and I think what was putting me off filming this particular video is, in my head I was like, I'm not ready to film this video. I don't feel like I'm sure enough about how I feel. I feel like I need a bit more time to recover, both mentally and physically. I really wanted to like almost come on and film this video like I had it all figured out. I knew exactly how I felt, and what I'm realising the more time goes is that it is such a process, and I'm not sure. I'm just in an ever-changing like point in my life, and I know that I want to look back at this video, and I know that it's more relevant to people who might be on the same journey, considering the same journey, if you kind of get my raw feelings, as raw as they are right now. Because when I was considering competing, when I was in prep, and I was trying to like research and look at every podcast and video under the sun to do with post-show and prep and thoughts and feelings around it, I found it really hard to find stuff. So I hope this is digestible. It's going to be a long one. Make sure you grab a drink, make sure you grab a snack, or if you're on prep, bring me on the Stairmaster. Hopefully my nattering can get you through. I really just want this to be like a one-to-one kind of just discussion, obviously like me talking at you, but feel free to leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments as well. Genuinely, your support has meant the world to me, and yeah, I've been very vulnerable on this journey, and I don't quite feel like my vulnerability is finished. So it's been a journey, to say the least. I've kind of compiled what was a great amount of questions into sort of key topics and most commonly asked questions. Spud's currently on high alert and breathing down the camera. Anytime Aaron goes out the house, he's like protective mode. Got to protect mum at all costs. First question, I feel like this is a really good place to start. How do you know if you're ready to compete, and advice for those interested in competing? I feel like with bodybuilding prep and competing in itself, it's not just like you dive straight into the prep. It really is a whole process, especially for women as well. I think for everyone, but especially for women, if you think that you can just jump into a prep diet all the way down and hope to have a competitive physique, or actually just be in a healthy position as much as possible by the end of it, you've kind of got it a little bit twisted. In terms of actually knowing whether you're ready to compete, you need to have your body, your health, your calories, everything in a really top spot. I did a bulk cut, like a mini practice prep last year, and then I did an improvement phase, which was like 3 to 4 months long, and then I started prep. So it was definitely like a year and a half in the making before I actually started my 24-week prep. You're not really ready to compete until you've put in the legwork, in my opinion, because you need to be as healthy as possible to do so. I really feel like you can't be sucked in and drawn in by the glitz, the glamour, the final product, stepping on stage. Like, you have to really know that you love the process, and by knowing you love the process, you have to live the bodybuilding lifestyle prior to actually starting prep. That's something that I've done for the past 2 to 3 years, I would say. Obviously not as tight as you need to be on prep, but I would definitely say that I had lived the lifestyle for a very long time. I was used to tracking my food. I was used to navigating social occasions with sort of limitations in place. So just think it's really important that you are going into a prep because you love training. Your passion has to be with the actual building. Bodybuilding is not just dieting down and stepping on stage. I feel like if you don't love training, you're really gonna hate training in like the last 6 to 8 weeks of prep as well, because your energy is just shot, like you're genuinely not getting a pump, and it becomes a little bit of a challenge. Tying in with that, what made you decide to do a bodybuilding competition in the first place? I have been training in the gym for like 7 to 8 years. If you're not familiar with my fitness journey, I was actually really unwell with a form of, well, I still have COPD, but it was really bad when I was in my teens. Couldn't do PE and anything like that, and I thought, you know what, I'll get into strength training and weightlifting in the gym because I can't do cardio. I started going to the gym when I was like 16, 17. And I've been going ever since. I would say that I definitely started taking the gym more seriously though, probably like 4 to 5 years ago now, maybe even a little bit longer. I started off in like a commercial pure gym, and then I moved on to, I'd say it's a bodybuilding gym, but they had like more machines and equipment suited to bodybuilding style training. I was around a few people at the gym who were bodybuilders, but I did kind of get a taste of the legwork that had to go in, and then from then I moved to a proper bodybuilding gym, and then now the gym that I'm at, that I was at sort of during my prep as well. And being surrounded by it, I definitely, like, obviously surface level, saw the parts of it I thought I'd love and parts of it I thought I'd hate. I also have had 2 different coaches, one of which I'm still with now, as you will know from my vlogs and everything. I've had 2 coaches. The first coach I had probably was like 4 years ago. She was a gem. She was a competitor herself as well in bikini. And I said to her when I joined her, like, I think I want to compete one day, but I'm just not there yet. I need to live the lifestyle. And when I parted ways with her, just to kind of take back a bit of control myself and just enjoy the process, like just take the pressure off slightly, because having a coach, you know, there is that constant accountability, and I needed a bit of time out. 4 or 5 months later, I decided to join on with Tom, and again, it wasn't with plans to compete initially, but he is an ex-bodybuilder himself, and he still follows bodybuilding style training, and he's very, very knowledgeable. Started off with him like wanting to do a bit of hybrid in with my strength training because I wanted to feel more athletic. Little did I know that my athleticism was just a result of me not sticking to something consistently. The Saturday EMOM that he had me on ended up turning into Stairmaster, and pretty much over time I just was fully fledged training, bodybuilding style training, tracking my food. I was in gaining phases, like we were working really, really hard. And then I decided on a call with him, I was like, do you know what, I want to compete, I want to take the plunge. I just put all my trust into him, and I felt like nobody knew my body better and how my body performed as a bodybuilder as well. So that's kind of how I got into it. And once I made my mind up, I was sure, and I was like doing everything I could, making all the sacrifice under the sun to really just give it big beans and make the most out of what I wanted it to be. Next question, what did you expect to be difficult about prep but was actually easy, and vice versa, what did you expect to be easy but was actually difficult? I expected hunger to be difficult about prep, for sure. And actually, do you know what, the hunger wasn't really the issue. I feel like, one, my food never got like horrifically low. Like, you know, you hear some bikini girls on prep, their like food is very, very low. Mine didn't, because 1, we started very high, and 2, Tom had like huge respect for my just functionality and knew that there were other ways that we could drop body fat and we could get relatively stage lean without just driving my energy and like food into the ground pretty much. So yeah, I thought hunger was going to be an issue. Wasn't really an issue. I very rarely had like achy, rumbly tummy where I couldn't sleep, which is very common, and I was prepared for that, to be honest, but it didn't really happen. I also expected like social things to be difficult, like navigating things like that. But 1, it's not that I'm not a social person, but I don't do an awful lot. Like, I don't have a close-knit group of friends around here. A lot of my friends are in the fitness industry, so a lot of them like understood. I thought that would be difficult, but actually like I had the most supportive system around me. And yeah, it presented its challenges at times, but I was just so fixated on the goal, and I was so like there was no chance I was going to slip up because of a social occasion, so that wasn't really an issue. It was like, just show up and do what you got to do still, and that was definitely the mindset I was in. What did you expect to be easy but was actually difficult? I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but before going into my prep, Aaron is the most supportive person ever. Like, my vision is his mission. Like we always say that. As cringe as it sounds, nobody has my back more than that boy. But when you're in a relationship and you both have small groups of friends that are scattered across everywhere, and you're definitely each other's person, like in all different ways, when one person is making such huge sacrifices for 6 months and essentially parts of their personality and energy is like dribbling away, understandably, due to fatigue and stress and everything, it can become really, really challenging. We definitely faced our fair share of hurdles through my prep, and I constantly had to remind myself that this was my choice to do this, and I was the one who had to be super understanding. So I kind of expected it all to be easy from a relationship perspective because of how, you know, solid Aaron and I are. You know, been together nearly 6 years, like we're in a fantastic position. But ultimately, you can't expect someone to just like always be optimistic about what the process is and what's going on. As much as we gave each other reassurance before the prep, days pass, like some days you don't win the day, and it's like, oh right, okay, this is how it's going to impact our relationship. So that definitely did present its challenges. I didn't kind of expect it to be as difficult in that way, and to feel all the feelings of guilt that I did feel through my prep. Guilt for Aaron for like not being able to do things with him, like even cooking dinner at home, like it was just always a challenge, like always being home. You know, that guilt kind of translates into my other relationships as well, like guilt with my family and just stuff like that. I also would say that I did expect my energy to go like feel awful through prep for sure, but those times where like it was obviously I was so depleted and not hungry, but like past points of hunger where I just had no energy, going out and trying to do normal things were really, really difficult. Expected, you know, being able to do shoots and stuff like that to be super easy because obviously I was in the fitness space, and as understanding and supportive and amazing as the brands are that I do work with, sometimes it was really hard to like stand in a white cove and look at like the cornerless wall of a white cove with no energy and just try and keep up the vibes and try and do my job as best as I could, which was on my feet essentially, jumping and lifting weights when I'd already done like a 3-hour session at 4 or 5 o'clock in that morning. Definitely, if you have a full-time job and are considering a prep, do some kind of practice run beforehand. And I'm not even just saying this because you need to know that you can keep up your work lifestyle and the demands of prep at the same time. You need to just be sure that the two can marry up and you can have the energy to sustain that. I feel like this is $1 million question. I have been asked this so many times by you guys, by people on my Instagram. Are you going to compete again next year / plans to compete in the future? This is going to be so annoying, but I still don't know. I'm not sure I will know until I'm you know, I think I'll just be like, okay, Tom, let's do an off season, like let's improve, let's grow a little, and then start prep. Unless I have that like rigid roadmap and I decide that's what I want to do there and then, and like my future plans align with it for that next year, then I will be sure. Do I think I will compete again? Yes. Can't see a version of myself that doesn't step on stage again. Genuinely loved so many aspects of that process, but I cannot deny the fact that it took such a toll on my personal relationships. I made a lot of sacrifices, and although doing a prep is a privilege, I am also just 24, and I'm aware that there is many aspects of my life that I had to give up slightly, and I wouldn't really say I'm a party girl or anything, but like dates, family days, all these kind of things that I did have to give up through choice, but that I'm not ready to like put on the back burner again yet. I feel like I'm only just getting started, and I have like this new energy and lust for life that I'm realising. I do think I will compete again. I won't compete until I know I've made improvements, but at the same time I am not necessarily eager to get straight into an improvement phase and straight into building and pushing that other end of the spectrum. I don't think next year, I think maybe the year after if I do. But at the same time, who knows what happens in 2 years? Life moves fast. I didn't think I would be sat here right now speaking like this 2 years ago. So yeah, life can throw you curveballs, so we would just kind of see. Now we're getting into like the logistics of competing, and for those of you who aren't really aware of bodybuilding and how things are kind of run. So can you explain the categories and federations you competed in? Obviously, like there's male bodybuilding and female bodybuilding, and there are many different categories that you can compete in. So just like narrowing and honing down onto female bodybuilding, the category that you compete in very much so depends on your structure, your genetic structure, and also how your structure like fits the certain criteria of the category that you're choosing, your level of musculature, and also like your style, like your flair, like where you see yourself fit. I know from my structure, from speaking with my coach, with my posing coach Eden and everything, like I knew that I fitted the bikini category the most, and my level of musculature was definitely, as a natural athlete, competitive in bikini, especially in the natural federations I competed in. Even in my 2 Bros show where I was on stage with other girls who were potentially assisted, you know, it wasn't a tested show, I still came 3rd and 2nd, so I feel like I challenged fairly well on that stage as well, despite being a natural athlete. So it depends on a load of things. Some would argue that like bikini is like bottom of the chain in terms of level of musculature, but really I think it just depends a lot on your structure and overall balance. Wellness, you're more lower body dominant. Figure, which is like lots of lats, lots of shoulders, and then you have like women's bodybuilding, women's physique, all that kind of stuff, which is like pushing more muscle on the frame. Obviously you consider the different federations. So in the UK we have a number of different federations, as there are in the US as well, but then you have like the NPC 2 Bros route, which is kind of the route that will take you to the Olympia. You become an IFBB pro, that's like that league over there, and then you have obviously your PCA, your natural federations, all that kind of stuff. PCA isn't a natural federation, but they did do a natural show which I competed in. That was my 2nd show day vlog, and then I also did UK DFBA, which is another natural federation, which was my 1st show, and I genuinely love that federation. 2 favourites were UK DFBA for sure. I think it is just so beautifully run and it's very, very respectable, which I enjoyed. And then I also love 2 Bros because I didn't realise how much I would love the posing and just the style and actually the feeling of being on stage. Someone else asked, were you on a meal plan during prep? No. Oh, yes. So Tom sets me macros. We have always done it this way. I've been on meal plans before, but I just know what digests well with my body, and he does too, don't get me wrong, but I just liked and enjoyed having the creativity of planning a meal plan off of the macros that he set. I enjoy that flexibility. I have a huge passion for nutrition. I didn't follow a meal plan that I had been set, so it wasn't like standard chicken and rice and all that, even though it became very much so that way at the end of prep. If I was to do a prep again, I think potentially I would follow a much tighter meal plan. I just didn't want to go, as my first time, into the extremes of very plain dry food. Obviously like the variety in food that I did have through my prep potentially impacted somewhat my ability to like manage water, manage salt, whereas if you like follow a very, very plain and simple meal plan, which is obviously very much so fit for purpose, and kind of like regulate those things a little tighter. So I think if I was to compete again, I would do that because I'd have a better understanding that 1, my relationship with food is solid, and 2, this is fit for purpose. It's not forever, it's just for this preparation period, and I've done it once before, I've got to bring better this time, so I'm going to do everything it takes, kind of thing. Realistic costs of competing. Competing is expensive, and honestly I was going to try and write this down and figure it out, but I can't really remember like how much everything costs. I'm going to be really super transparent about how much everything kind of costs. So obviously, aside from the fact that you are paying for your coach, I would say like lifestyle coaches between £100 and £200 per month, and then obviously you have like prep coaches, bodybuilding coaches, like £200 to £400 per month potentially. The gym membership depends where you train, so that's kind of pushed to the side because you can just have that from a lifestyle perspective anyway. You have to pay membership fees for the federations you're competing in. So I had to be a PCA member, which was like £40 for a year or something, and then I think it was like similar with Two Bros, and then you pay for like registering in the classes that you compete in. UKDFB, I did 2 classes. I did first timers and I did open bikini. It was like £100 registration for each of the classes, thereabouts as a ballpark figure. For PCA, I just did women's tall, and then for the Two Bros NPC show, I did 2 classes. My novice class as a first timer, and then I also did open class H, which was my height class. Each of those were like £100 to £140, I think. So actually, like, registering is expensive, and obviously you pay for pictures and videos if you want it from like the professional photographers and videographers at the shows, which depending on what show you do, I think for PCA it was 40 quid, UKDFBA was 40 quid, and then I think Two Bros was slightly more expensive. Then you move on to bikini. You can do these different types of ways. So I had 2 bikinis. I only planned to have 1, but then I surprised Aaron with a black bikini for my last show. Either get a bikini made for you. I just really wanted to like design my own one. I obviously love designing things and like the creative side of any kind of clothing, especially when it's in the fitness space. I designed that one with black ice bikinis. I had that handmade. A bikini, probably depending on like the level of glitz and glam you go for, can cost anywhere between £250 £450. I think mine was around 400, so it's quite expensive. I wore that for 2 shows, and then for my final show I wanted to wear a black bikini to surprise Aaron. I actually rented that one. I think it was like £100, £125, something like that, and I rented that from Georgia Rose Bikinis. And then things like, obviously you have your hair and you have your makeup on show day, and obviously your nails, girls would get our nails done pretty much anyway, it's a luxury, but like I wouldn't really put that into competing costs. Hair and makeup, I did my hair and makeup for all of my shows, and I saved a great amount of money by doing so. So yeah, competing, it is expensive, but it's as expensive as you make it. You could definitely cut costs and cut corners here and there, as you can with anything. You obviously don't have to do as many shows as I did. You don't have to do as many classes as I did. You can take lots of aspects of it into your own hands. I would say, like, if you're planning to compete, definitely like just have a little pot where you're saving and you're putting stuff away, because also with like hotels and stuff like that, Airbnbs, it does rack up quite the price. Someone asked, how did you manage cravings? My diet all the way through prep was very, very much so a whole foods balanced diet. Obviously I had cravings, but I think there's like different moving parts that helped with cravings, in terms of I was so hell-bent and set that there was just going to be no slip up, so it wasn't even really worth entertaining the thought of cravings, because I wasn't going to have them. Like, there was no chance. I wasn't going to have what I missed or what I wanted, and I knew also that food was always going to be there. And yeah, I feel like also when you have a very balanced whole foods diet, a broad range of fruits, veggies, healthy fats, like fibre, everything like that, even just like on a non-prep level, when you start eating that way, your cravings go down anyway, because you're nourishing your body, and usually cravings are a sign that something's missing from your diet. I think about 12 weeks out, I got into a bit of a TikTok hole where I really enjoyed watching people try M&S snacks and crumble cookie reviews. Like, I'd watch Aaron eat and I'd be so happy for him, even though I couldn't eat it myself. It's not like I wanted it, I just enjoyed hearing what he'd had for lunch, because I was like, I'm so happy for you that you had such a nice lunch. How much time did you spend on ticking prep boxes daily? I probably was in the gym for around 3 hours per day. My gym's like 20-25 minutes away, so I would often do my cardio whilst at the gym. I'd have like a meal between or whatever, or just like raw dog it and go through the whole session, which wouldn't really advise. And then obviously getting my steps in, early mornings, but at that point, like, my body was just waking me up ridiculously early anyway. Like, I was in such a solid rhythm. Like, I was up at 5 on my own, no alarm, dead to the world by like 8:30. How did you find the period between shows / back-to-back peak weeks? Between my first 2 shows I had 2 weeks, and between my second and third show I had 1 week. So I had 1 back-to-back peak week, 2 back-to-back peak weeks. Peak week show, peak week show. Peak week, by the way, is the week leading up to your show. The period between shows was fine. I feel like 2 weeks is not, it's like a good amount of time. You know, you can kind of recover, put in a little bit of work, get a little bit more body fat off if you need to based on feedback, which I had to. I was really digging. I'd say first few days after my first show I was good, I was solid, I was energized, and just like on such a high post show. And then like towards the end of that first week after my first show, I was like starting to lag because I was really like grinding. Back-to-back peak weeks I was fine. I felt like I was just so excited to step on stage each and every time, and I just loved the process. I loved the peak weeks. I found the strategy so interesting. All 3 of my peak weeks were slightly different in approach as well. So I was just like a sponge, like soaking up whatever Tom told me to do and learning why I was doing it that way. Apparently if it's like, a lot of people struggle if it's like upwards of 3 weeks between shows, then it starts to get a little bit techie, but I didn't actually experience that. Did you find posing hard or did it come quite naturally? Yes, to be quite honest. Posing, when I first started posing, so I actually started posing consistently October 2023, so I started prep in Jan 2024. I was definitely a slow burner with it. I just felt awkward, like I couldn't walk in heels. I just felt so uncomfortable. I felt like I couldn't look good in any of the poses, but I just didn't let it bother me. I just kept practicing, and I think if you're starting posing, that you're just going to feel very like out of your comfort zone. You're going to feel like a huge imposter dancing around in those heels when you don't really know what you're doing, and your body doesn't look like it's going to look on stage at the end part anyway. I stuck with it, and like the key to improving your posing is one, having a posing coach that you really connect with, that you can be honest with, that you don't care about looking like a tit in front of, and then definitely just like practicing every single day. And don't get me wrong, there were some times like through prep as well where I hadn't practiced posing in like 3 to 4 days, but it's quite physically demanding as well. Posing absolutely kills you back, especially when like your recovery is pretty rubbish as well. It doesn't always come naturally. I've never been coordinated, I'm quite clumsy, I haven't really had much flow or sauce about me ever, but I practiced so damn much so that when I actually did come to stepping on stage, I wasn't thinking about my poses. My posing stamina was good as well, so I wasn't shaking like a leaf on stage. Advice would be like, it's never too early to start posing, and 100% I recommend my posing coach Eden and her business Project Pose. She has such like a one-to-one, like we've developed such a beautiful friendship off the back of this, but she has such like a personal one-to-one approach, and the care and attention she gives to her clients is insane. Like, start posing now if you're considering competing. Okay, I've been asked this question a lot and I really didn't know whether to answer it, but look, I'm like documenting my journey and being honest with my experiences through prep and the hereafter as well. So I'm gonna be honest, like with this question, and I don't want it to scare you. Like, I've always been very sensitive to the type of community and person watching my videos. I know that I don't just like have bodybuilders who understand the process following me. I know I just have like regular girls who are just beautiful and here supporting my journey, and I just never want you to feel like I've gone down the wrong path or lead you down the wrong path. Anyway, I'm waffling. Someone asked, did you lose your period during prep? Were there any adverse effects of prep on your body? Yes, I did lose my period during prep. If you didn't know, if you are at either end of like the scale when it comes to body fat on your body, like if you are holding too much body fat on your body and you're overweight, then yes, you are going to have impacts on your period and your menstrual cycle. Likewise, if you have too little body fat, or your body is just in a heightened state of stress, it is going to affect your menstrual cycle as well. I think it is really important to mention that everyone's prep and everyone's body is going to be extremely different. It is like completely unique. So I know some girls who have been on prep either at the same time as me or like in previous times as well, and they didn't lose their period at all. Some people had their period on show day, for example. Other people like me lost it very soon on, and other people lost it like the last few weeks of prep. I actually had my last period the day I started prep, and I don't think I lost my period at the start anyway due to prep. The day I started prep, I also moved house, which was incredibly stressful for various reasons that I won't go into. And I'm someone who like gets very easily stressed out about the simplest of things as well. I just like kind of run into overdrive, and I know in the past that has impacted my cycle, and it did this time as well. So I had my last period in January. I actually just got it back a week ago, so 6 to 7 weeks post show, due to just having food up, hormones in a good place, prioritizing, you know, my healthy fats and mitigating stress and just recovering. I think you can expect to lose your period if you're doing a prep. Not everyone will, and it kind of depends on the approach that you take through your prep as well, how aggressive you go. As I said, like, we didn't go aggressive with food, we also didn't go aggressive with output, but I think a lot of the stress that my body was under was a lot of mental stress, which I am honestly still recovering from, but my body's back in a good place. And other than like losing my period and just like the low energy, there was no other adverse effects on my body. I didn't struggle with my skin. My skin was and has been the best it has ever been, due to genuinely just cutting out all the rubbish from my diet and eating a clean whole foods diet, and really just looking after my body, hydrating better than I've ever hydrated and stuff like that. So it's really swings and roundabouts, and it kind of just depends whether you're willing to take that risk and sacrifice on your body. But if you do lose your period, just know it's not forever, and it's just because your body's trying to protect itself. It knows like we're not going to be making babies in this time because we're stressed and we're knackered. I just wanted to be honest because I've been asked that question so many times on Instagram, and I just haven't wanted to answer it without expressing myself properly. Now we're kind of like delving into like the post-show phase. First of all, was it easy for you to find your way back to a normal life? Yes, in terms of like, I've gone on holiday, me and Aaron went to Rhodes, we had a lovely time, and you know, like many parts of me just felt like OG Meg, like back, and I had a new love for like fashion and just other things that wasn't just fitness and bodybuilding, and I was very flexible with my food and all that kind of stuff. But I also have really struggled with a lack of purpose. Obviously when you're on a journey to competing and stepping on stage, you have that constant goal and purpose, and I'm a very goal driven person, but that was like a huge goal, like where there was no let up. I had to put in the work every single day to get there. And I think I definitely have been struggling with purpose and just kind of knowing what table I sit at, and just putting an insane amount of pressure on myself to keep showing up as the girl I was 6 weeks ago, when in fact I am still that girl, but I just have a lot more flexibility and opportunity in my life, and almost an overwhelming amount that I feel like I'm not making the most out of it. So yeah, put myself in family situations, I've absolutely loved it. I think probably socially I've been a little bit inept. Obviously, like, you shut yourself away for 6 months and you can't participate in things that you potentially would usually, and you just become very independent and self-reliant, which is fine. I'm a bit of an introvert anyway until comfortable. So yeah, socially I've just been navigating it back again, just trying to build up my confidence, because it's definitely been a process. How has your relationship been with food post-show? Bit of background, I have never had a serious like issue with my relationship with food. Last year I had one episode of like binging, which was really not nice. It was mid of my practice prep, and honestly I just felt very out of control. I have always been like a very all or nothing person with food, so like I've never been that girl to have a pack of biscuits and not absolutely rinse the pack of biscuits. So I definitely had to like nurture that side, that negative side to my relationship with food prior to prep. My relationship with food was fantastic. As I said, I never really like I didn't have one slip up, not one mouthful of anything, and I didn't feel any type of way about it either. Post prep, obviously it's not that I've had like a issue with the relationship with the food I'm eating, but potentially just like, obviously your gut is just not used to having different foods than the prep food that you've had for 6 months. So I've kind of resented some of the food that I have eaten because of how it has made me feel, gut discomfort. And I think that subconscious resentment of the food, or like sometimes guilt of not sticking to my reverse and my meal plan, causes more stress in my body, which causes more bloating and pain. It's just like a bit of a vicious cycle. But I'm in the spot now where like my body is finally settling. I have held on to, and as anyone post-prep would, a ridiculous amount of water, to the point where post-prep I've been very unconfident and uncomfortable in my body. I mean, what do I expect? I go on an all-inclusive holiday, even though it was 4 weeks post-show, because I wanted to give myself like 4 weeks to stabilise and follow my reverse and my meal plan. With all the hormones and everything just coming back to the way it should be, I was holding on to a lot of water, and only genuinely like the past week it started to like drop off, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more like myself and more confident. I am still aware that food will always be there, but I'm really trying to like set myself daily challenges in, and this sounds really deep, but when you have like a meal plan and macros to follow, after following it so consistently, you just want to do that because you feel safe and comfortable doing that. So I've been challenging myself to like go out for dinners and have this which is not on my meal plan, which might be a little bit surplus to what I'm eating, and really set those challenges so that I can kind of like regain a bit of balance and stop putting labels on things. I wouldn't really say I've had any major issues. I just have kind of had a few days where I've eaten intuitively when I've had plans and stuff. I've had a few days where I've overeaten, a few days probably where I've undereaten, and then gone on an absolute rampage the day after. But nobody's perfect, and I think no matter how much you prepare yourself with podcasts and everything that you might listen to, or conversations you might have about post-show, you are just going to navigate it in the way that you're going to navigate it, and that's based on your past experience. It's based on the situations that you're in as well. Aaron and I always say, like, have I done post-show optimally? No, and I didn't expect that of myself, to be honest. I thought I would be absolute control freak in this reverse, as I was during my prep, but ultimately, like, my relationships in my life needed flexibility, it needed holidays, it needed meals out, it needed snacks on the sofa with a film, and for that it's worth it, in my opinion. How has your food changed from prep to post show? Have you reverse dieted? When I say reverse diet, like, I didn't do a specific creep up reverse diet. As soon as I finished prep, we put my food pretty high up because we just wanted to get my hormones back in a good place. We wanted to get my period back, we wanted my energy to return, and to do that I needed food. I am currently in a maintenance phase and I'm maintaining weight right now. It probably will push up in the next few weeks, but with the holiday, like, I definitely have like had weeks where my calorie intake has been a lot higher than what it's set. Straight away after prep, I was like, okay, here are my macros, like, let's get fun with it. And I really did, and I've enjoyed it. I love cooking now, but retrospectively, I think I shocked my gut with just like, my gut microbiome was probably like, what the hell is going on? I probably would say, like, if you're coming out of a prep, slowly ease different ingredients back in, because I kind of hammered it and I struggled a lot with like bloating and just distension and discomfort in my gut. And I kind of found myself after a couple of weeks just going back to kind of like my prep food a little bit, just because I missed it and I missed how it made me feel. But now I've got a good range. Still some things that I ate on prep that I still love, such as cream of rice. I'm a fan. How are you navigating physical changes in your body from stage lean to now? So as I just touched on, post-show I have been holding on to a lot of water, and I have been really hard on myself as well. Like, I've been told that by Tom, by Aaron, like, I've been very hard on myself. Because your body does change really quick post-prep. Like, in prep, your body is in such a sensitive position. You work for 6 months, and then literally in like the last 6 to 8 weeks, everything starts really coming together. And I think like in the last 6 weeks of my prep, I was losing like a kilo a week or something like that. So your body's in a very, very sensitive position. Any kind of like looseness, is that a word? Any leniency in your routine post-show, your body's going to be sensitive to. It's going to hold on to water, it's going to want to protect itself, it's going to, you know, you're going to regain body fat a lot quicker. You got very lean with a lot of like regimen, manipulation of water, salt, food. I did like fat loading days where I had no carbs, and then carb loading days, so like everything was like managed to a T. What I found was that my head was still in prep post-show, and my body was like moving in a healthier direction at 100 times that speed. If I didn't do the job that I did, I probably wouldn't have been that focused on it. That's just being completely transparent. We might agree or not, and it kind of got to a point where I've had to take like a little step back from my socials and not put so much pressure on myself, like, to protect my peace and my energy. It definitely like has been a process. Just accepting my new body, and it's not my new body. Like, this is a conversation I was having the other day. It is crazy because when you get stage lean, even though you tell yourself hello Woodley, hello, even though you tell yourself that you're not going to get attached to that lean physique and it's fit for purpose, you can't help but get a kick off like the constant improvement towards that goal. When you go through a prep, it just kind of distorts your perception of your healthy body, and you know, you can't really trust what you see in the mirror for a very long time after, because as I said, your body is moving much quicker than your head, and that is just kind of like my experience and how I found it. But I think when I look at my body at the moment now and I realise like what it is doing for me and the energy that I have and the way it's moving, like for example, I've never been a runner, ever. Like I actually would go as far as saying I've always despised the thought of running. But these past 3 weeks, like last week I ran 2 5k runs and I'd never run a 5k before. So just having the energy and knowing that my body can perform that for me when I've struggled so much with any like kind of cardio or anything like that in my past, due to like health reasons and stuff, knowing that my body's able to perform like that right now, I do have such a huge appreciation. I think the more types of movement I tap into and the more opportunities I take up, the more that like appreciation for my body will grow again. As I said, it's an ever-changing process and something I'm very much still wrapped up in. Every day's different. Some days I feel great, some days I don't feel so great, but honestly, is that just not like everyone? We have good and bad body image days, and I think it's just slightly heightened when you have been in such a rigid, progressive state of physique development like a bikini prep. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at post-show. We're doing good, everything is settling. I'm just so thankful, like my hormones are back in a good place and I'm just like finding my groove again, really just trying to organise myself and just have like my head as a priority in a good spot, and just knowing that like it's okay to take a little bit of time out. Like I'm not letting anyone down, I am looking after myself first, and as cringe as it sounds, like you have to do this for you first before anyone else. So I've just been making sure my training's getting back good, making sure my habits are in a solid place again, and just kind of taking the pressure off slightly, because I am in a very fortunate position where I am able to do that. And don't worry, like I don't forget that. I'm very, very much so aware. You've got to water yourself before you can water anyone else's garden in its bud. Final question. I feel like this is a great place to like finish off. General show feedback and plans for the future. As I said, plans for the future, I do think I will compete again, not for a long time. I definitely over the next 2 years want to travel a bit more. I want to spend more time enriching and growing my relationships with my family and my friends, because I think prep gives you a real perspective of those things. I learned a lot about myself during prep, a real time of introspection. And then I also really want to spend this next year like growing in terms of like every aspect of my physique, but more so my career. I always say to myself, 5 years ago, if you'd asked me what my 5-year plan was 5 years ago, I don't think I would have realised I'd be here doing this. So God knows where I'll be in 5 more years' time. But all I know is that the next couple of years, I really just want to find my groove and find my happy solidly, consistently with what I'm doing and the impact I'm having on people and in this space. So that's my plan. Yeah, when the time comes that I feel like I'm ready to compete again, or I want to take on that journey and I have all my ducks in a row and I have solid things in place with solid lessons learned from this prep and this post-show period, then I will compete. But I'm free-flowing at the moment. I'm just kind of going with the flow. I think that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you watched to the end of this video, thank you so much. I hope I maybe kept you company, because genuinely through my prep I only watched long videos. I'm a long form content kind of gal. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I will do my best to answer as many as possible. If there's anything I wasn't clear on, like, just recognise that this is just a reflection of my post-show brain, and just navigating my way back to normal life. Like, I'm doing this for the first time, I'm being transparent about this for the first time, and it is definitely a journey. And probably ask me in like 3 months' time about how post-show was, and I'll probably give you a slightly different perspective with slightly different advice. But that's just the beauty of evolving and doing something like this. as a complete true novice. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, please hit subscribe down below. I really hope you enjoyed following along my prep series and just everything encapsulating my bodybuilding journey. I'm really excited to bring back a little bit more lifestyle content because that's the stuff that I love to watch. Bring back some more of the OG try-on hauls and just home vlogs and just stuff that I enjoy watching and also know I'll enjoy looking back on as well, because this is a bit like a video log. Spud, what are we doing? You're creating a madness behind me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will look forward to seeing you in my next video. See you later.